Well, good morning, Southern Oregon, and welcome back to the Real Estate Show. It's a little chilly out this weekend. The holidays are right around the corner. And here we are with another episode of the Real Estate Show, and it's a doozy. We are so lucky to have Mrs. Trisha Williams from Gale Construction Services. Gale Construction Services is all about insulation, and it is a fascinating topic. I know it's kind of funny to say that, but it really, really is. And she's coming into the studio armed with a bunch of information about energy credits. And I ran into Gale Construction Services myself on one of my properties, and the rebate was amazing. And I wouldn't have known anything about it if she hadn't told me. So we're lucky to have Trisha Williams on the show today. She'll be coming in shortly. In the meantime, let's do what we do at the beginning of every show, which is talk about the local statistics in all three of our counties. And folks, hold on to your hats. We have great news, all three counties. I keep saying the market's going to turn, the market's going to turn. Well, here we go. Let's start with Jackson County. Now, these are year over year, week to week numbers, so keep that in mind. But Jackson County prices year over year this week are up 23%. The average residential home in Jackson County now costing $522,973. Number of sold year over year in Jackson County are up this week 22%. We had 43 residential closings on SOMLS. Number of listings year over year, Jackson County residential up 9%. We have 730 active listings on SOMLS. It's unusual to have an up arrow on all three categories in a county, but wait till you hear Josephine County. Josephine County prices year over year are up 7% this week. The average residential home in Josephine County now costing $492,272. The number of sold year over year in Josephine County are also up by 18% this week in the residential market. We had 13 closings on SOMLS this week. Number of listings year over year in Josephine County are up 13%, with 361 active listings and Josephine County's residential market on SOMLS this week. Klamath County prices are up 12% year over year this week. The average residential home in Klamath County now costing $277,234. The number of solds year over year in Klamath County are up 166%. There were 16 residential closings on SOMLS in Klamath County's residential market. That's a big number, and it has to do more with the last year's than this year's, but you see the trend. Lastly, the number of listings year over year in Klamath County are up 20%. We have 300 active listings on SOMLS. There it is, folks. It's super rare to have all three categories and all three counties on an uptrend, but watch for that to become a little more frequent as the inventory gets better, the prices get better, and people start buying more property. In the meantime, let's bring in Trisha Williams from Gale Construction Services to talk to us about insulation and Gale Construction Services. Well, welcome, Tricia. I am so excited to finally meet you and get to talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, this is very exciting because insulation is actually a very fascinating topic, and Gale Construction has a really interesting story. So how about you talk about yourself a little bit, how you came to this position, and let's find out who Gale Construction is.
Yeah. So we are actually Gale Contractor Services.
Oh,
However,
I keep calling you Gale Construction. I'm
and
sorry.
that's okay. A lot of people, a lot of times we're just Gale Insulation. The girls
Okay.
answer the phone, Gale Insulation, because our specific branch, we're nationwide. We're the largest insulation company, I believe, in the world.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yes, today it came out that we are number 57 on the Forbes list of best company to work for.
Wow,
I
congratulations.
know, it's very exciting. I mean, I already love my job. I love what I do. I I'm a salesperson. I do the residential sales here. We are a giant corporation, and my husband has been the manager for 11 years of the Medford branch. He also manages our Bend branch.
Super cool.
And about 5 years ago, I convinced him. Oh, we had a construction company for 20 years in California, so we worked together. I knew we could do it. But about 5 years ago, I convinced him to hire me. It was a lot of work because he's like, it's a big company. They're not going to let my wife work for me. Well, now our Medford branch, which is a giant corporation, is my husband's the manager. I do the residential sales. Our son is our commercial salesman, and our daughter works in the office. So it's
Oh,
the
you still
family.
have your own construction company. That's
So,
sort
so
of-
it is great. It's fun. I I am I was already I knew stuff about construction, but I didn't know anything about insulation. Most people think insulation is you just throw it in the wall. You just put it in there. It's just something, it's no big deal. There is actually an art form to it. There is doing it correctly and doing it wrong. I mean, if you don't do it correctly, you can have moisture issues. It won't give you the proper R value. But if it's done correctly, it also is one of I always say it's insulation and HVAC are the two things that over the life of owning your home will save you money on your utility bills. So if you do your insulation correctly, don't scrimp on that, because it's too hard to go back and do it later. You cannot get that fancy faucet when you're building your house or when you're remodeling and spend extra money on your insulation. But then in a couple of years, redo that so you get that fancy faucet. That's where I always tell people, spend the money on the insulation or your HVAC, because you don't want to have to pay the utility company extra for the rest of the time you live in that house. So
Yeah,
that's
super
why
good advice.
yes. And that's why I'm so passionate about it, because it is something that is important that you need. It's not tangible. You don't see it. It's not fun and exciting, but it is something that will help you in the long run. And so that's why I am most passionate about what I do. Of course, working with my family, that makes it nice too. So
Well, that's such a great story.
yeah.
So how did your husband come to Gale Contracting Services?
So when we moved here from California,
Uh-huh.
it was just a matter of he found this job, and um, it wasn't something he was thinking of. We've always had our own construction company, and he did bathroom and kitchen remodels.
Uh-huh.
And so, but it was getting him out of the field, getting him out of doing the physical work. And
Uh-huh.
then he found that he really liked the job. And then that's why I was at a job that I liked the job, but it wasn't a love. And I convinced him, I'm like, you've been looking for 6 months for a salesperson. I know I'm qualified. I know we can work together. We've worked together. So, and it does, it works great. Or at least I think so. I think we do very well in our
Yeah.
Medford branch. We take care of a lot of people in this area. So,
Yeah. Well, and
and
you don't know this, but I saw one of your trucks blowing into one of my clients' houses. Yeah, because they couldn't find a house. They were downsizing and they owned a lot. And I just said to them, how about you build a house? And I saw one of your trucks there and I called you, and that's how we met. And you've just been amazing.
oh, well, thank you. Thank you. Well, you would, actually, people probably wouldn't be surprised. You would probably see our trucks anywhere, from Eugene South. We do all the way up from Reading, all the way up to Eugene. Out of the Medford branch, we'll do the coast. We do Klamath Falls, we do Lakeview,
Wow.
we do Chiloquin. And then of course, my husband, like I said, he manages the Bend branch. So we do all of Eastern Oregon. We also have other branches in the Portland area. So there's Gale trucks all up and down this
Wow.
state. Yeah.
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 And for the listeners, Gale is spelled Gale.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
If I hadn't seen the truck, I would have spelled it wrong on the yeah. So do you happen to know offhand how many trucks and how big your crews are in Southern area? I know we didn't talk about this question ahead of time.
No,
Sorry.
no, that's okay. Out of our Medford branch, I think we have 7 crews crews.
Wow.
And it's usually a 2-man crew, depending on the day. Sometimes,
Uh-huh.
it's 3 and things like that. But I believe we have 7 or 8 out of Medford, and then out of Bend, they have 20 crews of 2-man crews.
Wow.
Yeah, Bend is a much bigger
Wow.
branch. They're like us. They cover a large area because they do all of Eastern Oregon. But here are one of the things that I'm very proud of our guys here in the Medford area. They're an amazing group of installers. Is their production, meaning they go to work and they work and they get it done, and they just are. I get compliments all the time about they did a great job. They were clean. They were polite.
Yeah,
So,
that's a big deal. It's hard
oh, it
to
is
find in
amazing.
Southern Oregon. It's hard
Yes,
to find that.
yes. And we
Clean
are,
and polite.
yes, we are extremely blessed. They are all fabulous. Every single one of them. Just I've gotten so many compliments. And the thing that I think is a little bit different about Gale is everybody that works here, we all have been background checked. So I feel that you would be
Awesome.
safe in your house if you're home alone and they're going to come. Or we've even had people that just left the door open. Makes us a little nervous, but but
That's
again,
also
we've all
very
had
Southern
background checks.
Oregon.
Yeah, we've all been drug screened. We get, so our company is great and takes care of us, gives us a 401k and insurance. So I think that makes it really nice too. I think it helps that they take care of us. As a
Yeah, yeah.
employee. So.
Yeah, they're a super good company to work for.
Yeah.
So we have to take a quick break. We're talking to Trisha Williams, the residential sales manager at Gale Contractor Services. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to come right back because we've got lots more to talk about. Insulation is fascinating. Don't go away. Well, hey, Southern Oregon, welcome back to the Real Estate Show. I'm Alice Lema. I'm a broker at John L. Scott in beautiful Southern Oregon and your host of the show. And today it is my delight to be interviewing Trisha Williams, the residential sales manager at Gale Contractor Services. And they specialize in insulation. And we've already learned a bunch from Tricia, and we've got more to go. So thanks for being on the show, Tricia.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So before we were forced to take a break to say thank you to our sponsors, we were talking a little bit about the company and you and how your whole family is working for Gale Contractor
Yes.
Services now. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. Sometimes it's hard working with family, but we actually have a really good dynamic. So I think it's really good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it doesn't sound like you miss having your own gig because that can be quite stressful having your own contractor company.
It was very difficult to go from being your own boss and not really answering to anyone to, answering to a big corporation. It's not even just you're answering to somebody, it's answering to a big corporation. But I think the thing that I commend my husband, who's our manager, Steve Williams, he treats this branch like it's still like it's our company. So
Yeah.
yes, he has to answer to the corporation and to his boss and things like that, but my kids also treat it like as if it was our own company, as if it really means this is how we have to survive. You run your company with integrity. You make sure you're taking care of your customer. You're taking care of your fellow employees, and so I think that maybe is why to me, I don't feel like I'm working for somebody else. I am working for another company, but I just still treat it as if
Well,
it
and
was my
it
business.
really comes across to your customers. I mean, I remember the day I called and somebody got right back to me and everything was, done so professionally and with good humor, which is hard to do in construction sometimes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just Gale Contractor Services. I mean, you guys just knock it out of the park and you really feel that personal service. So
I appreciate it. Thank
yeah,
you.
good job on that. So let's start talking a little bit about insulation and how important it is and why insulation matters. I mean, it's not just keeping your house warm, but it has a more technical advantages.
Yeah, so the thing, when you're building your house, when you're remodeling your house, when you just want to upgrade your house, is insulation is the one thing. I would say insulation, and I believe when you're upgrading, also your HVAC, your heating, your air conditioning, um, if you do it correctly, you're gonna save money in the long run on your utility bills. So where you lose the most energy out of your house is your attic. People worry, "Oh,
Oh,
I don't
good
have any
point.
insulation under my floor, but I can only afford one thing and I have just a hair. I have, 5 inches in my attic. 5 inches is nothing. I would always recommend do your attic first if that's what you can afford,
Would
and then do
you?
your floor.
Really?
Even though you have nothing under your floor, because your temperature under your floor stays a pretty consistent for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, obviously, if you can do both, do them both. But there are, and again, we can get into this a little bit later. There are some amazing energy trust rebates that we try and make sure and let our customers know are available to them to help in the cost of it. But the biggest thing is, you can insulate your attic, you can insulate your walls, and you can insulate your floor. Also, if you're building a house or if you're remodeling your interior walls, our what is the word? Our sanity sometimes is, you know, knowing that I'm not listening to my child listen to music on the other side of the wall, or the toilet flushing, or, water running, things like that. So interior walls sometimes is
So
very
insulation can help with the sound?
the sound. Yes,
Wow.
absolutely. When you live in a neighborhood and you have insulation in your walls, it's going to help with the sound. And there's
Mhm.
different kinds of insulation you can put in your walls. You can put bat insulation, or we also do a process that's called bibs, blown in blanket, where we blow insulation into your walls. It's an upgraded option, but it has a sound value and it has a better
Wow.
value for your energy.
So
So,
give me an example of what a sound value would be. Because I know our values have to do with the heat. And
I'm not familiar with the decibel ratings. I know that,
is that how they measure it though? Is by decibels?
yes, yeah. And so I'll give you an example. When we built our house, our neighbor across the street, we live in the woods a little bit. He shoots every day. He shoots, I think it's his release at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And so we put bibs in our exterior walls, and we don't hear him very well at all. When he's
Wow.
shooting, before then, you could hear,
So
but
he's target practicing and you couldn't
yeah,
hear him
yeah.
before.
So it just makes
Wow.
it
That's
nicer to
impressive.
keep out the outside noise. I mean, it's not going to be perfect because you have windows and different things, but it's the thing that helps the most for your sound. And it also, I mean, our utility bill is practically nothing because we upgraded. We did the bibs, the R23 bibs in our walls. We did additional insulation in our attic, and then we upgraded our floor. Again, we're in the business, so when we built the house, but that's the one thing that I try and help with customers that are, just building or remodeling, is what the options are. Sometimes it's an option of what's the best you can have that you can afford, or what's the best you can have because you're going to live in the house for, forever. So there's
Mm-hmm.
so many options out there for people
But
that
you also
can
give
fit their budget.
people choices about timing. That was one of the things that we talked about was what order do you want to do this in if you're not going to do it
Yes.
all at the same time? And it was a very interesting conversation. I hadn't thought of that. And I'm in the business.
Yeah. So it's definitely one of those things where when say you're building a house, or remodeling, so your walls are open. I would spend more money on my walls, because once you close those walls up, it's harder to add to it later. Whereas on
Hmm.
your attic, if you can only, if we only do a little bit in your attic, we can always add to it later, or we can always
Hmm.
add to your floor later if we have to. Those are things that, it just depends on, and again, each house is different. So it's one of those that we don't charge to come out and take a look.
See,
Um,
that's the other thing. You don't charge to come out and look. A lot of people do
correct.
now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that I don't actually, you and I don't know that we've discussed this, is I have realtors all the time send me home inspection reports and ask.
Oh, do you?
Yes, can
That's
you give me a
great.
bid? There's no underfloor insulation. They don't have a lot of insulation in their attic, whatever it might be. Can you tell me, do they need anything? Do they qualify for any rebates? So I have no problem with making sure and giving advice to the realtors so they can give it to their
Oh, that's
customers so that
lovely.
they
I'm
know
gonna,
what's going
yeah,
on.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
add me on. Yeah.
Yeah. If you get an older home or a home that you don't think has sufficient insulation, send me the home inspection report and I
Well,
can.
and there's so many older homes in Southern
Yes.
Oregon. It's
Yes.
like, I don't, we're kind of behind the times with new construction, and we'll talk about that in the next segment. But when you're remodeling, sometimes you only have so much of a budget. So you would recommend if you're renovating an older home, the attic first. Is that right?
Attic is the number one because that's where you lose most of your energy. However, when you're renovating, you have your walls open and we can insulate inside your walls at a later time. Once those are sheetrocked or, plastered, you can't, it's a lot harder to
Because
then
you got to
insulate
cut
the
into them
walls.
again.
Yeah. Yeah. So if
Yeah.
there's somewhere where you're going to go above and beyond, that's where I would say to do it.
Yeah. So when you do the blow-in technique, what did you call it?
It's
Bib?
called blown in blanket.
Blown in blanket.
Yes.
So
Bibs.
how do you address an older home that has no insulation on the exterior?
So that's what I'm talking. The bibs actually goes in the exterior walls. So if their sheetrock is off those walls, or if
Uh-huh.
they're maybe residing the house, and that's the perfect time. If the siding is
But
off, we can go from the outside.
do you have to take all the siding off?
You don't. We can insulate your walls, and so what happens is you have holes drilled into each bay
Oh,
or
that's how you do
wherever.
it.
Yeah, that's why I always say if you're remodeling or if you're, if you are going to reside your house,
Mhm.
it's the perfect time that if you have those holes, it's not a big deal. Or if you're
Mhm.
removing the sheetrock or the siding, that's the
Mhm.
perfect time to definitely. And we have worked with a lot of contractors where they're like, okay, I'm removing the siding on this day. You need to be here on the very next day. And we make sure we're not holding up the job site and we're getting there, it's
Wow, so you can time
seamless.
it to that
Yes. Yeah.
tight of a
Yeah.
schedule? Wow, that's incredible. So so that's something that people should plan on then if they're gonna um reside their redo their siding, they should plan on having an insulation evaluation.
Yes, absolutely.
So, and how long does it take to do like an average? Oh gosh, we're gonna hit a break here, but just real fast, how long does it take to insulate 1600 square foot single story?
Well, it depends. So if it's just the attic, usually only a couple hours. If it's the exterior walls, probably a good half a day to a full day. Under the floor, it's definitely a full day, maybe two.
Wow. Wow. Well, we'll talk more about that. We're talking to Trisha Williams from Gale Construction. Don't go away. It's Gale Contracting. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Real Estate Show. Just a quick reminder that this episode, talking to Trisha Williams of Gale Construction Services, will repeat tomorrow, Sunday at 8 a.m. So you can, if you didn't take a lot of notes, you can hear Trisha Williams again from Gale Contractor Services. So welcome back, Gail. I'm sorry, Trisha.
You would be amazed at how many times I get called Gail. It's okay.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, and I'm also a little always nervous. I know people don't realize that. So we were talking about some of the technical aspects of what it really takes to do the job of insulation and how quickly Gale Construction Services can respond, especially to builders who have a tight schedule.
Yeah, we're pretty good. If you're a builder and our goal is to never hold up your job site. It doesn't always happen. There are times where we say, oh, we have to, move back a day or move up a day. Things happen. But for the most part, our goal is to never hold up your job when you're ready for us. I mean, if you called me today and said, I need you tomorrow, that might be a little bit difficult. But
Well,
we know a couple of
no
days
builder would do that.
yeah. Occasionally they do. They call and say, oh my gosh, I totally forgot and I'm ready right now. And then we scramble and see what we can do to fit
Oh,
them
that's
in.
nice of you.
Because it does happen and that holding up their job then holds up the next trade, the sheetrockers and things like that. So we definitely make our effort to make sure that we're not holding up the contractors. Same with the homeowners. If they have a specific schedule, and again, we're human, things happen, jobs carry over. For the most part, we do a pretty good job. There is an occasion that we have missed our scheduled date, or forgot.
But I bet that's pretty rare.
It is definitely rare. And again, we call and apologize. And so we do everything in our power to keep your schedule just as it needs to be. We also make sure we come out and take a look at the job, look at what you need to have done. So again, for contractors or even homeowners, it costs nothing for us to come out and take a look at your attic or your floor.
That was very impressive because my job was small. I was acting as a homeowner, and you guys came out like in 1 or 2 days.
As we get busier, there are times where it's a few days before I come out, or like last week I was on the coast for 3 days looking at projects, and then I had to go to Klamath Falls. And so I didn't get to them till this week, but my goal is to always call you back within 24 hours to try and look at your project, within 5 to 7 business days. Usually it is within a couple of days.
Yeah,
but
it's very impressive.
Because, my son does our commercial sale. So if there's something I can't get to, I ask him to go take a look at it. Or my husband, Steve, is our manager, and he'll take a look at it. Just if there's times that I'm just overly busy. So it does make it nice that we help each other. Yes.
Yeah. That's great. That's great.
And, we'll, the other thing that we hadn't talked about that I think is important is we do fiberglass insulation, but we also do closed cell spray foam, and we do so there's different types of insulation that we offer. So if anybody has,
what was that last one you said after
closed cell spray foam or rockwool, which rockwool is it's more of a sound bat. It's used in a lot of commercial projects. It's not something that's as common, but definitely something that we have an option to get if somebody wanted that.
So it's rock wool, like wool on a sheet.
It's you're gonna make me a technical term.
No, that's okay. I just wondered what you use it for. Is that more for like recording studios or natural?
It used to be the number one thing that people would use for sound insulation, and commercial sites use it because it does have it's a denser product. I'm not as familiar with rockwool because it's not something we use in the residential as much, but again, if there's questions I always have, I can ask myself.
Yeah, interesting to know that it's one of the products that you use.
Yeah. We just did a whole project with rockwool for a homeowner builder, and it was great. It turned out great. I was very actually impressed with the product and our guys, the way they installed it. So yeah.
So one of the things that we get a lot of questions about is rentals. Like people have multifamily and they're attached. And so and a lot of the multifamily construction in Southern Oregon is really, really elderly construction. Yeah. So do you consider that like the 2 to 4 unit, do you consider that a residential installation or a commercial?
So it's actually considered multifamily. It's residential.
It's kind of its own thing.
Yes. Yeah. And the thing that we've done is, maybe you have a 2-unit or a 4-unit building, and, maybe you have a duplex, or you have a fourplex. Well, you have people living in some of them, so you only want me to look at unit A and B and not worry about C and D right now, because there's people that don't. I don't mind going out to a property more than once, because we're going to do these 2 first and then maybe do these other ones. Or you have a front house and a back house, and we're only going to do the front house right now. So I've definitely done things like that. And again, there is energy trust rebates. It as a property, as a landlord, you're still covering the HVAC. If the HVAC goes out and you need to replace the machine, or, you don't want it to run as hard, insulating that attic and having proper insulation you're going to not have to, pay for the repairs of the HVAC because it's not going to work as hard.
So
So
are you saying that if you have more insulation, then your heating and cooling systems will last longer because they don't have to work as hard?
yeah, so if you have proper insulation, when you are not losing that energy out of the attic or losing the energy out of the house, your machine doesn't have to work as hard to cool or to heat.
Well, that's very
And so,
interesting.
yeah, as a landlord, you're not paying the utility bill. So you're not getting the benefit of not having the more expensive utility bill, but you are still getting the benefit when you have higher insulation and you're not losing all that, you have less
Wow.
wear and tear on that
Yeah.
machine. And
Yeah.
that's why I say HVAC. And if you, the other thing as a landlord, if you have a good system, that HVAC system, then that will help too. So
Yeah. And your unit will stay rented longer.
yes, yes, yeah,
Yeah.
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 And it makes your tenant happy. I mean, yes, I know as a
Yes. And that
landlord, you're
is important.
probably in it to, make a little money off of that rental, but also, it's nice to make your tenant
Yes,
happy.
it is. And I didn't mean to make it sound all about the money.
No,
Sorry,
no,
because
I know I was the
yeah,
same way.
yeah. But that is, that is a really important point because the rental market does go in cycles, just like, house purchase markets go. And in this last few years, we've had rental income decline across the nation.
Yeah,
And the rents in Southern Oregon are not going up as fast as they used to. And so a lot of the landlords are preparing for a little bit of a down cycle in the rental market. And this is something they can do to stretch out the use of their very expensive HVAC system.
yes, yeah, absolutely. And I and I've done this more than once. The landlord calls me and says, I need you to call my tenant and coordinate with my tenant when you're going to go out there, because it's easier to just talk one-on-one. And I'll call the tenant, but I will still communicate financially with the landlord. So I don't
Oh,
mind
that's
having
good.
that third person in
Mm.
my situation that I have to deal with.
But that's a lot of extra work for you, and you happily do it.
Yeah, you know what? It's not, I like my job, so it's not hard for me. It makes people, to me, it helps people. I I feel like, yes, I'm doing a job, but insulation, I'm passionate about it, obviously. It does help people. So the more you have, the better off you're going to be. So,
And
or at
tenants
least
must
that's how
be
I feel.
thrilled.
I
How
so,
many tenants have a landlord that gives them upgraded insulation in their
oh,
building?
I know. And I
Yeah.
hear how excited they are and how thankful they are when they find out I'm coming out, because their landlord wants to, see if they qualify for any energy trust rebates or if they can need additional insulation. So it makes it really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you never know what tenants are thinking. And they might have been thinking they're going to move and they hadn't just told you. But if a landlord comes around and says, I'm going to get you some upgraded insulation, that affects the tenant's pocketbook every
Yes.
month. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool idea.
Yeah.
And you keep mentioning the energy trust rebates, and we're going to have to take another quick break, but we will be talking about that
Okay.
extensively. And we just have so much to cover. I've got
Yes.
a sheet full of questions, and we haven't gotten to even half of them. So, folks, we're talking to Trisha Williams. She's a residential sales manager at Gale Contractor Services. That's GALE. And she's been personally involved in some of my properties and a great asset. But we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back to talk to Trisha Williams in just a quick minute. And just a reminder that this episode will be repeated tomorrow, Sunday at 8 a.m. Well, welcome back to the Real Estate Show, folks. I'm Alice Lema. I'm a broker here in beautiful Southern Oregon with John L. Scott Real Estate. And just a reminder that we are brought to you, thankfully, by John L. Scott, Ashland, and Medford, our local Rogue Valley Association of Realtors, and Guy Giles from Mutual Mortgage. Thank you all so much. We appreciate your sponsorship every week. And we just love being able to bring the show to the public every week. And today, Trisha Williams has joined us from Gale Contractor Services. She's the residential sales manager, and we are just covering a lot of territory today, Trisha. Thank you for coming.
You're welcome. Thank you again for having me.
So this is our last segment, and you keep mentioning the energy trust rebates. Can you elaborate on that, since I won't interrupt you again?
No. So we have a program here in Oregon, and it's Energy Trust of Oregon. And for me in the residential, so they have rebates that new construction, existing homes. So if your house just needs some additional insulation, and all the rebates are different. So it just depends on the situation. We have rebates for attics, attic insulation, for wall insulation, for floor insulation. We were just talking about, multifamily and duplexes and triplexes. There is definitely rebates out there for rentals. So as a landlord,
Are there really?
Yes. And I am,
Wow.
there's rebates for commercial projects. So depending on your commercial project, and what you're doing with the insulation, there is opportunities for rebates in all aspects. For the most part. Again, I would have to take a look at your project, but something that is most common right now, and people think it's too good to be true, so they don't call, or they don't. We put out lots of advertising, and nobody calls because they, again, think it's too good to be true, but they hear this word of mouth. And if you have a house that has little to no insulation existing in your attic, I would say if you had 5 inches or less existing in your attic, you look in your attic and you say, oh, I don't have very much, or you have an electrician come out, or a lot of times the HVAC guys will tell you, well, you don't have very much. We can insulate your attic and bring it up to an R38 at little to no cost to you. It is, again, sounds too good to be true, but for the most part, we have probably done 600 or 700 attics at little to no cost to the homeowner. So there is some amazing rebates out there. It changes every year. So we are getting ready to be a new year, 2025. I know what the rebates are for 2024, but I don't know what they're going to be in 25. They could be better, which would be amazing because they're already amazing rebates.
Well, that would be very Oregon, because Oregon's very energy conscious.
Yes. Yeah. And if you think about it, the more insulation we have in our attic, the less energy we are using. And we already have, as a whole, we're using a lot more energy than we really should be. So it's a way to help with our grids. And so it is also mentioned on your utility bill. So if you're a Vista or your Pacific Power bill, it has a little information about Energy Trust of Oregon on there and the Energy Trust rebates. You can go to the Energy Trust website and even look up some information, or of course you can call me and I can, help you navigate through if your house would qualify. And it is not do you qualify? It's does your house or your project qualify? So that makes it nice. It's not income based. It is, does the project itself qualify?
Wow. So I don't know where to start. So let's talk about just a remodel.
Okay.
Yeah. When would you start talking to the homeowner about the energy trust rebates in a project?
So a lot of times when it comes to a remodel, it's a contractor that's calling me, and I have to come out and take a look at the project, because there is parameters on whether, when you're in a full remodel, on what qualifies and what doesn't qualify. But let's just say you've decided you're going to put a new vanity in your bathroom, and so then you're going to put a new vent fan, and you notice, oh, I don't have a lot. Electrician comes out and runs a wire, and they say, oh, you don't have a lot of insulation in your attic. You call us out and we can tell you whether you qualify or not. So we just did one where that's exactly what happened. The electrician says, well, you don't have a lot of insulation in your attic. We go out, we look at the attic, and they didn't. They had very little insulation in their attic.
And they didn't know. That's the other
And they
thing.
didn't know.
They didn't know.
And we give them, instead of their 5 inches that they have, they now have 13 inches in their attic, and their utility bills go down. So not only are they getting it for little to no cost, they're saving on their electric bill or their, a Vista bill. So it makes it kind of nice to get a additional rebate in that you're not spending as much on your utility bills.
Well, and
So,
it's more motivation to do it. And I think it's just an educational issue. Don't
yeah,
you? Yeah, people just
absolutely.
don't realize.
Well, and people say, so somebody listening to this, you live in a rental, you are a tenant. It doesn't matter. You can still call me and I can come out and look and
Oh,
say, yes, you
brilliant
qualify.
idea.
And then they can have me talk to their landlord. I've done this many times.
Yes.
Their landlord,
Yes.
and I can say, this is what it's going to cost you. And it, if you as a tenant want to do the research and go to your landlord, that helps too. Or as a landlord, you say, I have a couple of rentals, or I want to see if any of them qualify. It definitely is something that is,
Well, landlords that have a lot of units, this could really benefit in a lot of
yeah,
different areas, and tenant retention, like we keep
yes.
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And again, it's not just your attic. Your floor can qualify. There's floor
Mhm.
rebates if you don't have any insulation under your floor, or if you, like you said, you're doing a remodel and you open up your walls and you realize you have no insulation and you're
Or
going to
you
do
have
a kitchen remodel.
newspaper.
Yeah, you have news. Yes, we have seen that too. That's a great way
I'm
for us to see if
sure
your
you
project.
have.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So,
So
and one of the services you provide, and I forgot to mention this to you during the break, is you remove insulation.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's talk about,
So
because we only have a few minutes left, but let's talk
okay.
about that service.
Yeah, so if you are a contractor and you're removing, or even a homeowner that you're getting ready to remodel your kitchen or remodel your bedroom, master bedroom, or whatever it is you might need, we can definitely come in and suck out the insulation or remove the bats. We can do the dirty work for you so you're not getting all itchy. Our guys are professionals, and we have this huge
Yeah.
back door
Tell them
basically.
about the machine.
Yeah, it takes up the whole back of one of our trucks, and it's giant, and it sucks all the insulation out of the attic, all the blown in insulation. And I mean, there's been times where we've even had to shovel it out a little bit because maybe there's some debris still in there, but we get it all taken out and taken off to the dump for you so that you can continue along with your
Oh, is
project.
that where it goes? It goes to the dump?
Yeah, yeah. You have to have your insulation tested. So we do have to, of course, test your insulation
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
beforehand. Yeah,
Yeah.
we want to make sure that it's good and that there's not anything in it. But
What do you
well,
test for?
they test for asbestos.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think there's a few other things. We take it
That's the big one around here, though,
yeah,
because the
yeah.
houses are so old.
Yeah, and you know what? What's crazy is I don't know, I've been here 5 years. I've probably tested hundreds of attics at least. And
Hmm.
so far, I'm knocking on wood. We haven't had any issues. So we've been
Oh,
pretty
that's
blessed
good.
in everything that we've had to send in. We haven't had any issues yet. So
Oh, that's kind of remarkable,
yeah.
actually. Yeah. Wow. Wow. So, where can people get a hold of you, Trisha?
So we are Gale Contractor Services. We are here in Medford, but like I said, we service the coast. We service Klamath Falls all the way over to Lakeview. We go down to Reading. We go up to Roseburg and Eugene.
Oh,
But
do you?
yeah, yeah. So our phone number here is 541-776-2848. Of course, you can Google us on the web. We are on the web, so you can look us up that way. And you can always email me if you want to email me directly. I get people all the time. You can go on our website, galecontractorservices.com, but you can email me at Tricia, Tricia.Williams, WILLIAMS, at trueteam.com, TRUTEAM. So it's Tricia.Williams@trueteam.com. So
Well, that's great. That's great. It's been a very educational interview, Trisha. Thank you so much for coming on. And I hope you'll accept an invitation to come back on the show again later in the
absolutely.
year.
Yeah, it might
Yes.
be fun to have our commercial salesman or even Steve, our manager, with us.
Yes, because the construction This is like right before Christmas and the construction is not that big right now, but maybe in the spring, you can talk about what's new and different.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
Well, thank you so much. And folks, do look into listening to this episode again tomorrow at 8 a.m. Tricia, just chock full of information, great education. And thank you again to our sponsors, John L. Scott, Ashland and Medford, local Rogue Valley Association of Realtors, and Guy Giles Mutual Mortgage. We are so grateful to have you in our life to help bring the show here every week. Have a beautiful Southern Oregon weekend, folks. Bye now.